Hello, everyone. This is Rick with the Cyber Pro podcast, where industry leaders share their insights. 5 questions in under 9 minutes because hackers never sleep. Let's get to it. Dan, who are you and what do you do?
Hey, I do sleep. Maybe hackers don't. My name is Berte, and I'm director of IoT for Bitdefender, a world-renowned cybersecurity company, best known for their consumer products and recently for their enterprise products as well. My job at Bitdefender is to oversee the research projects for IoT vulnerabilities and different devices around the consumer space. And not limited to that, I also work with different product teams to develop the new technologies that come forth for improving the life of people in their homes that are now connected. So there we go.
That's awesome. I want to know how you define IoT.
Thanks for that. That's my favorite. Like that's my ballpark. That's my ball alley. The thing is, my problem with IoT is that you cannot secure something you can't define. And my experience has been talking to other people is that we have different understanding the definitions of what IoT means. So if we want to talk security, how do we approach it if we don't know what it is, right? So thanks for that question. I feel like in my book, IoT for the consumer space, the industrial space has a different understanding of things, but in my book, IoT, the Internet of Things, is the host, the community of internet connected devices that may or may not talk to each other directly, but talk to some hub somewhere and enable us to augment our experience in the home. Not limited to the home, obviously. It could be the cars, it could be mobile things as well, but it's all the entirety of things. And to give you a little more insight, what I mean by that is, if you ask somebody how many connected devices, how many IoT devices they have in the home, they'll give you a number, but I'm sure it's going to be half of what the actual number is. Well, a lot of the times they don't think of their connected network storage attached devices, which are the hard drives. They're going to think of their printers and stuff. Like there's all these other devices that we take for granted. They're also connected that we kind of ignore in our self-assessment of the connected home, where we're looking to a little bit of a different tidbit here. We in the industry call this IoT, and we report to it and works for us, but the consumer doesn't report to this as it's the IoT, but they call it the smart home, right? So when they go into a store, they don't go to the IoT section, they go to the smart home section. So every time we talk about this, and this goes out to a general audience in public, they might not exactly know what we're talking about. So it's an interesting element there that we alone in the industry use the term.
No, and that's true. I've seen it not only with smart home, but smart cities and smart counties and all these other terms they use. IoT is definitely an industry term. So that's awesome. Thank you for defining that. So you're really cool because you sit in this cyber world, but you sit in this IoT world as well. So what do you love about being in cyber and in IoT?
I've been in the space for the last 10 years with Bitdefender, which is a long time. And I feel like what I love about being in this specific place at this specific company is the fact that I believe strongly with my entire professional and personal understanding of it, that we're a force for good. Like I feel that whatever it is that we do is to help people and to help the world be a better place. And that just helps me, work towards our cause. I love the people that I work with, and I love the fact that we can do, we're known as a company for our technology, for our technological prowess, and I feel like that's what kind of pushes forward. We might not have the biggest marketing budgets in the world or whatever, but we know that our product is the best. So that kind of puts me in a good spot that I feel like we're really that force for good. I really love that part.
Cyber heroes. We've had that conversation, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Nice. So we understand that top concern today is cybersecurity, but what does that mean to you?
Oh, of course. One of my favorite things is talking to everybody around and be like, hey, everybody's concerned about cybersecurity, especially when there's a breach, some ransomware attack, some situation where everybody's like, for the next 30 days, everybody's red alert. And then they were like, oh, I'll just mind our own business. And it has to be innate. And I'm not saying this as a professional where I want more people to give me business. It's not the thing. It's the fact that, and I would refer you we'll put this in the comments, maybe an interesting book called The Burglar's Guide to the City, where one of the conclusions is that we're no longer seeing burglaries and people don't break into houses in physical spaces anymore because all that stuff has moved online and digitally, because it's so much easier, it's so much more profitable, it's so much, so it seems to me like, cybersecurity, of course, as an end user, I don't want to deal with it as much as I can. It's just, don't tell me about it. Why do I want to know? But at the same time, everybody should understand at least that cybersecurity means increasing the cost of attack. So that means making at least the bad guy look the other way, be like, hey, that target seems more appealing, because go there, it's going to be easier for us to do it. So that alone is a good impetus, is a good push to be like, hey, let's look into cybersecurity more, whatever it is that we can do to, improve our posture and make sure that, whatever attacker looks at us is going to look the other way the next day. And this is, I'm talking consumers, but at the same time, enterprise is the same situation. Of course, there's more knowledge and there's more involvement in enterprise space, but at the same time, we know the situations is we're always lagging behind. The bad guys were more motivated, and the incentives are there. Yes, we can rely on luck and hopefully nothing happens, but at the same time, fortunately though, the cybersecurity space is so much more diverse, it's so much better. There's so many companies, so many professionals are doing a fantastic job mitigating much of the threats. It's kind of impossible to say, hey, I don't have anybody, to talk to about this to help me. Like we're at least seeing, and I mean, yeah, somebody more cynical than I will tell you that cybersecurity is going to be the main, the main industry, the main most important, technology angle of the future. And I don't want to fully disagree with that, but I don't want to be that pessimistic. So
nice. I appreciate that. So what piece of insight do you want to share with other cyber professionals?
I thought a lot, I thought about this for a while, myself as well. And I feel like, and I shared this with you prior, actually, I want to, I'm on the side of, I want to learn more than I want to, preach. So I'd be like, hey, I'm, more interested in learning as much as I can, finding out as much as I can from, peer professionals or anybody else who's got an insight that I could. But again, going back to, if I was allowed to say something and be like, hey, here's my advice to you. Again, like earlier, I'd be like, try to figure out that one thing. If it's not multiple, that's going to increase your security posture, is going to make it harder for the bad guy to break in, and just don't be impervious to it. Whatever, if whatever it is, look at what you have, talk to somebody in the know and figure out that one thing is going to improve it. And there you go. You're so much better off.
That's perfect. What piece of retro technology just makes you smile?
Oh man. Thanks for asking that as well. I'm not wearing it. It's my 1994 Timex Ironman. It's probably the first smartwatch out there. It had this little diode, and it only works with the with an older screen, with a CRT screen, and you could like download calendar items, numbers, and all this stuff through to the watch by just placing it against the screen, and it'll flash a couple of lines of code to it, and then you'll have all these things in. That thing has been certified by NASA for use on the International Space Station and stuff. Like, god ugly watch, but it's such a cool piece of retro tech, and I have one and I wear it sometimes. I wear it pretty commonly, which is funny. 1994, one of the first smartwatches in the world. Cool tech.
I was waiting for you to say the calculator watch when you said watch. So,
thanks for bringing it up. No, and I'll tell you why. Because I was late to that party because I was just a guy. I was a poor kid. My parents were teachers and stuff like that. So I had like an old stupid Casio, and all my better off friends had a calculator watch. So I kind of like, was my envy thing. I never really appreciated it because it was the sour grape for me, right?
I didn't have one because my fingers were too fat to actually push the little buttons. So.
And that. Remember how those rubber buttons would kind of break and fall off, and then you couldn't use, and you had to have like a little toothpick. Kind of a cool tech. I love that stuff. Indeed, very useful. I never, but then I had my PDAs when nobody had them, so that was kind of a thing.
So being an IoT professional, I'd love to hear what you would tell your grandma or, some person on the street about how they should protect themselves or have good practices around smart home devices.
Uh, I mean, I take one for the team sometimes, like everybody else. Oh yeah, you're in computer, so you come fix my thing, whatever it is, reinstall Windows. Uh, so some people are somewhat out of luck, but fortunately, and this is personal, and I'm in a fortunate situation here where I've worked on a product that actually solves a lot of these issues for people who don't want to deal with it. So when we built Bitdefender box a few years back, now this technology is available on different Netgear routers and with different partners and ISPs around the world. It kind of takes the heavyweight off somebody who needs to intervene and kind of takes care of things at the root of things. So there's not much you can tell these people if they don't know. It's hard to explain why. Hey, grandma, don't click on that link. It's going to take you to the wrong place. But there's some products out there that kind of make it a little easier for them to do. I have conversations about this stuff with my granddad. He's he's 90. He's pretty he's pretty out there. He's pretty present and he knows his stuff. He's happy with his iPhone and things. But I know that there's things that would evade him, just like it would probably sometimes evade you and I. So yeah, mine. I would prefer not to even tell them there's a thing that they have to worry about, because it's just opens a can of worms they can't handle. So might as well just put something like box in there and make sure that it takes care for them. So
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So, well, wonderful. Dan, thank you so much for being on the Cyber Pro podcast.
Rick, thank you so much. This was great. I love doing this with you.
You did it. You made it to the end. Thanks for watching the Cyber Pro podcast. Check us out for more content.